Uganda Bureau of Statistics, that many people refer to as UBOS, was created by an Act of Parliament, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act 1998. And when we were created, we were given a mandate, and that mandate was simply to collect, analyze, and produce official statistics for this country. And then we were given a second mandate, which was to play an oversight role in monitoring the national statistical system, which is simply a system that brings together the users and producers of statistics in Uganda. And the statistics we produce is to help, like Mr. Moses there, it helps you plan, it helps in key decision making, and also informing policy. But government has added a fourth element, which it's now using our statistics to monitor on the levels of service delivery. As I speak to you now, we are launching a report in Kampala, the Uganda National Household Survey Report, which among other things will capture the levels of poverty in households. So government will use that data to analyze or assess if some of the projects it has rolled out, like MEOGA, like PDM, is having a tangible effect on Ugandans. I'm here for three reasons, like I hinted on earlier. We've rolled out three important activities. One is the baseline education census. It's a historical moment that we've never conducted this census before. It's going to be the first time, and that's why we are calling it a baseline census. Why? Because for any other surveys and censuses from now on forth, the premise will be of the data we collect from this baseline education census. We rolled it out on the 7th of April. We started in Kampala, Mukono, and Wakiso. And then once schools broke off for holidays, we took a pause. Why did we take a pause? Because one, we are going to count all formally registered schools in Uganda. So if you know of a school in Arua City, Arua district, that is formally registered, we shall be there to enumerate that school. We shall also do a physical head count of all learners in this school, because we are in collaboration with Ministry of Education and Sports, and they want to know how many schools they manage, how many schools they oversee. They also want to know how many learners are in the system, right from kindergarten all the way to university. So it's a huge task. That's why we have recruited 8,000 enumerators to help us achieve the goal of enumerating all schools in the country. Once schools reopen, which I think is on the 26th of May, we shall roll out. We shall be in Arua City, we shall be in Arua District, and to the rest of the country. We don't have a timeline on when this exercise will come to a close, because we want to do a perfect job and we do not want to put ourselves on pressure on when it will end. What are we enumerating? For the learners, we are going to get their biodata. We shall get their names, we shall get their date of birth, we shall collect sex, nationality. We also want to get the LIN number, because the Ministry of Education now accords every learner a learner's identification number. And then for the learners that have NIN numbers, we shall also get that number. Then we know that there are some learners in our schools that are not Ugandans, that are here as refugees. We shall pick out that refugee ID number. And then we shall also want to identify learners with special needs. If a child is crippled, say a child is autistic, we want to pick out this information so that it helps the Ministry of Education plan better for the sector. We shall not only enumerate learners, we shall also enumerate the teaching staff. Aside from their biodata of name, age, sex, nationality, we shall get, we want to know the subjects they are teaching, what subjects they are teaching. We shall also require them to give us their Teacher Management Information System number, which is given to them by the Ministry of Education. We want to know their highest teaching qualification and their highest level of education. And then we shall also enumerate the non-teaching staff. This is the matron, the security guard, the cook, the cleaner in the school. We shall get their biodata, job title, and identification documents. And then after we've gotten that, we shall also look at the infrastructure of the school. How many classrooms does the school have? How many desks does the school have? What equipment do they have in their laboratories? What materials do they have in the libraries? And then we shall also get the institution identity, the EMIS number of that school, because every school now has an Education Management Information System number. We shall want to know your operational status. Are you operating legally or illegally? Then you will have to give us your license and registration status. We shall go ahead and also capture the district where the school is found, the county, sub-county, division, parish, village, all the way down to the cell, and eventually get a GPS coordinate. So that if the ministry tomorrow wants to come to Arua Primary School, Arua City Primary School, if there's such a school here, it's just a GPS coordinate away, and then it's easy to locate. These interviews will be conducted in 2 ways. One, for the little ones from kindergarten to P5, they will be enumerated in the presence of a class teacher. Because we know these little ones might not know their full names, they might not have their biodata like date of birth with them, they might not know their LIN numbers. So we are communicating to the different platforms of teachers, of school heads, and informing them to inform parents to get them this information before the enumeration starts. And then for the learners who are P6 and above, we expect that these ones are mature, they are adults, and they are able to be enumerated on their own. So they will have to answer the questionnaire on their own. And then when we come to university, we shall not do a head count. We shall only go and get the administrative data. We believe universities have their records in place. Instead of enumerating each learner, each student at the university, we are going to refer to their administrative data. And then to wind up on the baseline education census, for all information shared by the teachers and the non-teaching staff, they will have to sign a declaration form declaring that every information they are giving is correct. Because as you know, as statisticians, we emphasize factual information. If you don't give us factual information, then we're going to report we're going to give government wrong data. And then the second reason why I'm here, the labor market survey. It's a survey, so it's not going to be carried out throughout the country. We just sample a few households and institutions. This survey is in collaboration with the Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development. And the Ministry of Gender simply wants to understand the labor movement and trends. It wants to understand the employment rate, unemployment rate, and the employment rate in the country. It also wants to understand the mismatch in skills. For we know that there are jobs that are advertised and an employer can fail to find somebody qualified for it. So that means there's a mismatch between the qualification somebody has and the demands of the employer. So this survey is going to help the ministry understand where the mismatch is. And then it's also going to, this survey is going to help us understand how easy it is for one to find work. Say you leave a job or you lose a job. How easy is it for you to find work? How long does it take for you to find work elsewhere? And then finally, they want us to establish how much distraction there is in the labor market. How many companies are able to hire to full capacity? How many institutions are there that have vacancies but they fail to fill these vacancies because there are no people qualified to fill these vacancies? What distractions are out there that are causing companies to downsize, that are causing people to lose their jobs, not because they are not working, but because the companies or institutions are not able to employ them anymore. That's the second reason why I'm here. So how this survey will be conducted is we shall sample a few households. Say we send out a team, they come to Arua City and sample, pick out 10 households that they will enumerate, and then a team of enumerators will come and speak to the household heads. They will ask questions like, what is your source of livelihood? If the answer is yes, and then we shall then further ask, how much do you earn? Is the money you're earning able to sustain your household? And then if the answer to what is your source of livelihood is no, we shall ask, for how long have you been unemployed? How many applications have you sent out? And what is the response you've gotten? What are your qualifications to help us, ascertain? Could it be that the unemployed person's qualifications are obsolete? They are no longer demanded in the labor market. And then we shall also go to institutions. We shall come to Arua City, we shall go to the district, and we shall interface with the human resource persons, because they are the ones that interface with the employees, interface with those that are seeking for employment. So in a nutshell, that's the second survey we are having. And then the third one is the Uganda Aquaculture Census 2025. And our questionnaire, like he told you, is embedded in a tablet, which has enormous benefit. One, it helps reduce on the error of data captured. Number two, the process is faster when you use digital. The moment an enumerator is done enumerating a farm, immediately they're able to send the data to the headquarters and analysis begins right there, which means we shall be able to disseminate this report in a very short space of time. And then I also want to caution all those to be enumerated. We've had scenarios where unpatriotic people want to abuse such a noble activity. So for anybody that is hired or recruited as an enumerator at UBOS, if you're to be interviewed by them, one, they must have an identification card that has their name and also has a QR code. The moment you scan that code, it should take you to our website. The second thing is they have a letter of introduction. Each one of them moves with a letter of introduction, which they must present to the person they are going to interview. So do not just start off speaking to anybody without them first identifying themselves. And then the third thing is they must move with a guide. For the fisheries, they are moving with extension workers. Yeah. Yes, they are moving with the extension workers in the different sub-counties where they are. For the BEC, they will have an LC chairperson or whoever the LC chairperson will give them. So I just wanted to make that clear so that nobody is scammed. And then my final appeal is that answer the questions factually. Never has UBOS been caught disseminating or breaching correspondent identity. Your information is safe with us. Even I, as public relations, don't have access to this information. There are very few people who have access to it. So our respondents shouldn't worry about their information being used against them at any one time. That will never happen. So answer questions factually. And I also want to appeal to the political leaders. As you've always done, you've always accorded us support. We still appeal to your officers, to you, to support us, to enable us to fulfill our mandate.
My name is America Joseph, Principal Fisheries Officer, Arua. The reason as to why we are here, we wanted to brief you about the Uganda Aquaculture Census 2024-25. This is the first of its kind in Uganda, and it's covering the whole country, the 136 districts, including the cities. The purpose of this exercise has come as a result of increasing demand of fish products, urbanization, and the depletion of the wild fish stocks in our water bodies. So as a country has come up with this to have a comprehensive and reliable data on aquaculture as a substitute to fill the gap of the wild fisheries. On that note, they came up with objectives of the census to provide data on structure of aquaculture in the country. Objective 2, to establish a benchmark data and reconcile current aquaculture statistics. This is not because we've been not submitting aquaculture statistics, but they wanted to reconcile using a specific tool, because we've been using manually. Now they have come up with a tool which we'll be using for collecting the data. And the third objective, to develop a sample frame for future aquaculture surveys. The last objective is to obtain updated statistics on aquaculture production inputs and the outputs. Now, what is the data which is needed? What we need from the field is the aquaculture farm characteristics from the households and non-households. Who are these ones? The households. These are people living together, they eat together. And then the non-households, these are people with different farms. In terms of farms, we don't take them as households because they have where they are living and they are eating together. That's why we categorize them as non-households, like a farm. Then another data which we want is production facilities. What are these ones? These are ponds, cages, tanks, and so on. The third one which we need is the aquaculture farm labor. Is it hired? Are you the one doing the farm labor on your own farm? And so on. Then another one we need is the aquaculture production and the purpose. You are doing aquaculture for what? Is it for business, home consumption, and so on? Then we need, another one we need is a land and water usage. The land, is it hired? Is it customary land? And so on. Then the second one is the type of fish one is rearing. Is it tilapia, catfish, miracle? All this data is what we want. Then another one is the input used. Some farmers, they make their feeds on the farm, they buy and so on. Then machinery and equipment. Are people using generators? Are they using Wenleco? Are they using National Grid and so on? Then the last one, which we need, is the building. Building, we look at the hatchery, where we are rearing the fish from, or where we are processing the feeds from. Then another information we want from the field is the infrastructure. From your farm to where you are selling the fish, what is the distance? Is the road motorable? Can you easily access transport in terms of motorcycle, vehicles and so on? The last one is the services which this farmer is getting. Are you getting from the private service provider? Are you receiving extension workers? Where did you get the service from? From research institutions and so on. Now, at the end of the day, after all this data being collected, what are the results? What are we aiming at as a country is to have the total area under aquaculture. Now that's the outcomes now after the whole exercise. 2, the number of farms engaged in aquaculture in terms of households and non-households at the end of the day. And then the last one, what are the sources of water? Are they aquaculture mainly we are practicing it from streams? We are getting water from the streams. Are we getting it from the shallow well? Are we getting it from the lakes, those who are doing cage farming and so on? Then the critical inputs for aquaculture. What are these ones? These are the feeds and the fingerlings. How are you sourcing them? Are you getting them locally, or you are sourcing them from Kampala? Now, like in West Nile, we have got a challenge, a very big challenge, in that most of our inputs, we source them from Wakiso and Kampala. We don't have well-established hatcheries. We don't have well-established fish processing factories and so on. So our farmers, they labor to go to Kampala to purchase the inputs, which increases on the costs of these inputs. Now, this exercise started yesterday, Wednesday, which was 14th, and it's running up to 15th of next month. It's a 30 days exercise, and the results are urgently needed. That's why we never had the time to meet the political leaders, the technical wing and so on. We're meeting them when they have already started. Right now, Arua, we are given only one enumerator who is collecting the data, both Arua City and Arua District. And that enumerator, my major role as a principal fisheries officer is to oversee, to monitor, to guide what he has to do. And he has already started in Aduni. Yesterday covered 5 farmers already. And the questionnaire takes almost 30 minutes to cover up one farm. So that's the brief which I have about aquaculture census. Arua City and Arua District, there was a basis for giving the enumerators in terms of farms, how many establishments each entity has. Then it was equated to the enumerator given. Now, for instance, like Arua District and Arua City, we have around 63 active farms. So we have a feeling that by that time, all farmers will be captured. And by yesterday, he captured 5. Now, within 30 days, if I can capture 5 per day, they will be done before the end of the exercise date. Now, this tool doesn't capture only active farmers. It captures those who are active and non-active. For instance, the active ones, those are the farmers who are in the fish farming from 2024 June to date. So those ones before June, also they are captured in that tool. That's why these people are also going to be planned. That's why they are carrying out the census to plan. Why is these farmers out of the business? For policymakers, and somewhere in the tool, there's where they give a provision. Why are you out of the business? You explain, then it's captured. These are the basis on how to bring them up for planning for them to come on board, and they continue with that. Because the country, the aim of the country, why they wanted this data as soon as possible, to plan for these people, to bring them on board, to fill the gap in the fish production. Because it has deteriorated so much. We are no longer depending on capture fisheries. In the lakes there is no water, so there is no fish. The fish which is there cannot sustain the increased population. So now we are going to rely on aquaculture.
So in this situation, are you capturing the farmer alone, or you capture also the number of fish he has?
Now in this tool,
or where he's catching them.
In this tool, that's why I told you at the end of the day, when all this data is collected, we wanted to know the total area under aquaculture, both active and non-active. Then in 2, the number of farms engaged in aquaculture in terms of households and non-households. Then the 3rd one, sources of water and the critical inputs at the end of the day. So this tool will give us the results of this, which I'm trying to
inform decision making and planning. The fact is that fish population has dwindled so much, and by the way, fish aquaculture is one of the lucrative businesses, except many people who would have wanted to engage in it do not have the technical know-how. Even meat production now has gone down. The other day on the Eid, during the Eid celebrations, meat I think went up to 24,000. 1 kilo. 1 kilo. And then goat's meat went up to 27. This is a dangerous sign, especially for Western Nile, because the livestock population here in Arua and the Western Nile and large has gone so much down. We now go bringing livestock as far as they show in those other regions. So far, the delicacy has also dwindled so much, and if this survey can inform decisions to support the farmers who are upcoming, even farmers who have established themselves to grow bigger, would be good. There's a man here across who is growing this on artificial lake, artificial pond. He makes it using timber. RSC knows. This man across here, the Nigerian. Those are technologies which can be used even to facilitate people who don't have wetlands, because he makes a pond using
a dark line.
Yes, and the fish are very amazing when you go there. So those are the people who needed to be supported in order to encourage and train other people to come up to support the community. Because diet management and nutrition of the people is very important. One of the reasons why some of our children are not doing so well is because of poor nutrition at the early stage. Otherwise, I want to pledge our support at the local leadership and say that we are going to ensure the exercise is smoothly done and successfully done, so that we have a well-informed decision.
This provision have clearly stated to us why this engagement was organized, and for us, ours is to promise our commitment as a Arua City Council to ensure that this exercise succeeds, because we know the importance of data for planning, particularly in the areas of education. We also do collect data as the Arua City Council, particularly on issues of education. But I think this particular survey is going to go into getting some of the issues which we have not been capturing. That should therefore be able to inform planning in Arua City, but also I think the district. So generally, this exercise is welcomed, and we are ready to support it as a Arua City Council, because as a government, once the central government has come up with an initiative like this, ours is to ensure that we facilitate the process and also encourage the local leaders who are down there to support it and ensure that we are able to get quality and accurate data.
Technology, and our questionnaire, like he told you, is embedded in a tablet, which has enormous benefit. One, it helps reduce on the error of data captured. Number two, the process is faster when you use digital. The moment an enumerator is done enumerating a farm, immediately they're able to send the data to the headquarters, and analysis begins right there, which means we shall be able to disseminate this report in a very short space of time. And then I also want to caution all those to be enumerated. We've had scenarios where unpatriotic people want to abuse such a noble activity. So for anybody that is hired or recruited as an enumerator at UBOS, if you're to be interviewed by them, one, they must have an identification card that has their name and also has a QR code. The moment you scan that code, it should take you to our website. The second thing is they have a letter of introduction. Each one of them moves with a letter of introduction, which they must present to the person they are going to interview. So do not just start off speaking to anybody without them first identifying themselves. And then the third thing is they must move with a guide. For the fisheries, they are moving with extension workers.
Yeah.
Yes, they are moving with the extension workers in the different sub-counties where they are. For the BEC, they will have an LC chairperson or whoever the LC chairperson will give them. So I just wanted to make that clear so that nobody is scammed. And then my final appeal is that answer the questions factually. Never has UBOS been caught disseminating or breaching correspondent identity. Your information is safe with us. Even I, as public relations, don't have access to this information. There are very few people who have access to it. So our respondents shouldn't worry about their information being used against them at any one time. That will never happen. So answer questions factually. And I also want to appeal to the political leaders. As you've always done, you've always accorded us support. We still appeal to your officers, to you, to support us, to enable us to fulfill our mandate. The world we are living in now is data-driven. It's data-driven. You now cannot embark on anything without data. Even the politicians, you should have my phone to receive the number of calls I receive from MPs, from LC chairpersons. They want data to know how their different constituencies are thriving, are standing. So it's a data-driven world that we live in now. That's why you see we are rolling out 3 activities, because the Ministry of Education wants data, the Ministry of Gender wants data, the Ministry of Agriculture wants data on these different sectors. So that's why we've rolled out these activities. For the labor survey, our job is to collect data and give it to the user agencies and departments. What we want from the labor survey, we want to identify the percentages of unemployment, underemployment, and unemployment in the country. And also to identify the skills gaps between those that are seeking employment and those that have the jobs. Because there is a trend now where a job is advertised but no one to fill it. Why? Because people do not have the skills to match the qualifications. So that's why we are conducting the labor market survey. Are you satisfied?
Why the 3 at this time?
Why the 3 at this time? Because there is demand for data. Data helps in planning. Data is going to help these different ministries inform policy when they are planning for their different ministries. So that's why we've rolled out 3, because all the 3 ministries want data at the same time.
But why was it not captured in the 2024 census?
It wasn't captured because the information we need, for instance, for the education census, the question we had in the census questionnaire was, we asked a household head, how many learners do you have in school? And they could tell us 3, 4, or 5, and that was it. But now we are going further than just how many learners do you have in school. We are getting the biodata of these learners. So the Ministry of Education will know that there is a one Nancy Anyango who is in P1, age 6. This is their lead number. This is their date of birth, and this is their sex, and blah, blah, blah. And then they're also going to have biodata on the teachers to know the qualifications of these teachers. This information we never collected during the census.
How do you intend to address issues of dropout and so on, teenage pregnancies and this?
That's not for UBOS to handle. All we do is collect data and give it to the user ministries. And then the data we collect, we hope, will help them inform policy and make decisions on what you just asked.
Yeah, my question is, how relevant will this data for schools be based on the fact that every year we have shift in enrollment? Either it increases or it drops based on learners' response to schools. How relevant will it be? Are you going to have every year new data collected, or this data will serve the country for a period of time?
This being a census means it will be, the next census about education officials will be 10 years. But in between there we'll have surveys that are normally 3 to 5 years. So how relevant? Our job is to collect the data and present the information to the user. Yes. This is a baseline. From now on forth, anytime they're doing any surveys or censuses on any of these entities, they will have the baseline, the premise, the starting point. Yes. The reference point is going to be this census. So it's very key that we do it right.
The last census, we had the question of people who were not catered for, the Ugandans who were not counted. Up to today, the country has not accounted for them. So I also believe in this same exercise, there would be people who will not be, basing on he said they only have one person moving. If you look at the timeline, we may have people who will not be captured. What do we intend to do to ensure that we do not continue to miss out on people who should be there for the country to plan for?
First of all, it's not true that there were people not counted. One, the way we count, census, national population and housing census doesn't mean that we must come and count you physically. We were interfacing with the household head, and we asked them how many people were in your house on the 9th of May. So even if we did not physically interface with you, a household head accounted for you. So
there were household heads who were not present.
Then we interviewed the people we found there, because our communication was, if you as a household head are not available by the time the enumerator comes, leave somebody responsible that can speak for your household, so that by the time the enumerator comes, they are able to enumerate somebody from the household. So you'll be surprised that people were enumerated, but they just think because someone wasn't there physically, they were not enumerated. And then for your question about fisheries, these enumerators were trained. They are given a number of farms to capture a day. I bear good news that in a very short span of time, we shall be releasing the disaggregated data for districts, and counties, and parish, all the way down. It will be broken down to the lowest unit. When I left head office, they were actively working on that, because the requests have come in. We understand that it's needed now that we are rolling out NDP4, and the Bureau is at work on that. The good news is we first released the main report. Then now we are working on disaggregating the data, which will be released in a very short span of time. And then you're asking about the relevance of these statistics now that you're already planning.
The 5-year plan.
Yes. What is better? To have it, to conduct the exercise and have data, regardless of the time we are conducting the exercise, or not to conduct it at all? I think it's better that, yes, it might come a little late, but at whichever stage we are able to disseminate the final report, we can now work backwards into filling the blank spaces that you as planners are leaving. Because this data is going to help us, come up with, helping policymakers. It's going to provide evidence. Right now you're planning without this data, so what basis are you using to plan, you see? So we're still going ahead. We might be a little late, but I know whichever time the data comes, it's still going to be relevant. Scammers, that has always been our main worry. People that want to abuse the exercise. Someone will go to a farmer pretending to be a UBOS employee, enumerate the person, get personal information, and then use that information against the farmer or against a school. And then the head teacher or this farmer will be mad at UBOS, saying, I trusted you, I gave you my personal information, and now you're using it against us. So we always caution those to be enumerated. Ask for proper identification. When in doubt, our numbers are always on our websites. We're just a call away. Yes, that could be my main worry. Otherwise, we are good to go.
What the attitude of the respondents you're going to approach? You
That-
haven't said anything. Whether people will be willing to give you information based on your appearance with them, with the previous surveys, for example.
I'll let Joseph speak for the farmers.
For the 1 week training which we had in the Collins Hotel, they are trained how to approach the farmers. My request to the farmers is, this information is confidential. we are not going to publish it. It's only UBOS which has the right to publish this information, even if we took the oath. Secondly, let the farmers not get worried that maybe, because what we found from this tool, it tries to ask the farmer, how much did you sell in the previous season? How much did you earn? And so on. This information, some farmers mistook. They might think that maybe it's going to attract URA, how to tax them and so on. It's confidential, purely confidential. Purely confidential. And these are the first information when we are interacting with the farmer before we get there, before we continue with the exercise. Let them not get worried that maybe we are going to disseminate this information. It's only UBOS which is supposed to disseminate the information. Actually, the government is encouraging people to do fish farming and they run away from rice growing. Now what the government is encouraging, they are telling us to do site surveys where we are going to carry out the fish farming, and then we invite the environmental officer to do his part and guide accordingly. Then we will write a report which will be submitted to give you a leeway to continue with the aquaculture or not. Thank you.
First of all, for selecting Arua-City to be part of this exercise. Then, secondly, I want to thank the city leadership for accepting and willing, from the communication of the town clerk and the mayor, they are ready to ensure that this exercise is a success in the city. I therefore want to call upon the team from UBOS that we need, and the city we need accurate and quality data to be collected, so that we don't create gaps at the end of the day, which will, if it is not accurate, will affect the service delivery. I therefore want to encourage that the stakeholders be brought on board and be informed of what is going to happen. Our people are very quick in asking questions. Some of the questions my team, the media team, have asked here will be the same questions that your team must get on the ground. And therefore, our people are very quick in asking questions. Somebody will be saying, why are you counting them? Especially when you go to school, why are you counting them now? Why do you want to know about our agricultural status? As if it is a crime to know the number of children in schools, because this will help the government to plan, even in releasing government funds, in constructing classroom blocks, in supply of desks and so on. That's why it is very important that the government always wants to have a data. Even in the families, the family head would want to know how many people are at home so that they plan. If it is to buy 1 kilo of meat, it depends on, everything depends on planning. I therefore want to call upon the public to give the accurate and the right information to those who will be collecting this data. Because we have that mindset, during census, there are some cult groups that will say, don't allow yourself to be counted. That once you allow yourself to be counted, you will die. And these are things that we don't want to hear in the city, because I don't expect even any cult group to say, no, don't count our children, don't even count the number of my goats, don't even talk about my farm. Once that is collected about in the agricultural sector, it helps government to understand why this particular region is not doing well in such a crop. How can it be improved? How can it be improved? That's why government does all this information. It is not for making funds, it is for reality. In one of the districts that I'm not going to mention the name, Makerere University carried a research where it was discovered that grasshopper senene will do very well in northern Uganda, in one of the districts. Then people quickly were saying, what about our crops? As if in Masaka, where senene comes from, people don't grow other crops. But later, when they realized that when the benefit of having the grasshopper, the benefit, the economic aspect of it was explained, everybody was saying, why don't you bring it towards our sub-county? But of course, this one, our people always want to first they want to ask negative questions to discourage the person who needs information. But when you also explain, they take time to understand. What does this mean? As your team goes on the ground, let's have a team that is well informed, a team that can respond professionally towards responding to the stakeholders. It shouldn't be a team that will begin quarreling. Because people will ask some obvious questions, but they will need the answers. When actually they have the answers, but they want to test how capable the team that you have sent. So it is also another wrong mindset in our society. So the team that you are going to send on the ground should not do this work on a rushing way. Where you deploy the team that is supposed to do a work for 1 week, for example, and the time frame that you go from 8 a.m. begin the work, but you find the staff is in the field by midday. That's when it's beginning. By around 2 is leaving the field work. So by doing this, the information this person is going to collect may not be sufficient enough, because they may leave other things out. So as we go for this, I encourage the team that is going on the ground to be very sober and respond to some of the questions that people will be raising. But of course, at times, our people are generally lazy in responding to too many questions. You have a set of questions that may be around 20 or 30. Somebody will say, why do you ask all this? But of course, there are certain things which are obvious. They can be seen. Because if you visit a home where you are talking to a child who has an element of disability, you even physically he has a lame leg, then you're asking, are you disabled? When you actually have seen it. So this is where at times people fail to respond to certain things. So I want to call upon the stakeholders, but as security, we are ready to help, because this is what will help the government to deliver services. Because where there is insecurity, services cannot go well. And where there is poor service delivery, it's a very big security threat. Because in an area where there are no water services, there are no other services that people need, then the people will think government is doing nothing. And yet, that's why government wants to have the record, they have the data. Because if I come to Arua and say, why I'm encouraging you to do it in a very quality manner in Arua is hosting. We are not actually hosting, but there are several number of refugees who are supposed to be in the camps, but have decided to settle in the town. Therefore, any service that has been planned for the population is shared at the end of the day. So that is the challenge we have. And that's why we call upon the public to give the accurate information, so that whatever information is collected will not be, will be taken, and the service will be delivered according to the number or according to the information that has been captured. So I therefore want to encourage the media, my good friends. I have been in the media also, as many of you know. You need to help the government in disseminating the information about this exercise in a very positive way. For example, somebody will ask, some of you will even begin running their articles, that we hear government wants to come and do some baseline survey, that we hear. You don't hear because you are part of the engagement here today. make it straight that the government is going to have a baseline survey on air, education, agriculture, and the market. Here people will know that, this is truly from government. But when you say, we hear government want to come and they do baseline survey, people will lose hope in perceiving the information. So let us help the government to cause also awareness. And of course, as the government, if you, since this is a government program, the need for public awareness can come to us. These are our good friends. We have the government hour in all the radio stations in this region. Before the exercise begins, if the team is ready, we send it to them so that we will cause some awareness before the exercise starts, so that everybody is aware that on such a day, this kind of event is going to take place. So that is an offer from the Office of the President, and I think it will help us to achieve and succeed in this exercise. Members, the education sector has a number of things that needs to be improved upon, and this will only be done when the correct data is collected. Here is something about the Ministry of Gender in Employment. As a region, we need to do something about career guidance. We must guide our children on what to do. Are you aware that if you go at random and ask some students, what would you like to become in the future? Somebody will say, I want to become a blocker, because they think being a blocker is a profession. Can we, through, I like the media so much. Can we, even in some of the Java programs, can we also help and guide the population, especially the young people? Which courses have market that can, when they go for them, they can compete favorable with the rest of the world? Because gone are the days where a parent will say, I want my son to reach Makerere University. But even opportunity where this person can first go and have a certificate, he gets a diploma, he will finally reach Makerere University. So those are the things that I want us to do, and I want to thank the mayor. Mayor, this thing is coming at a time when we are heading to campaigns. It must not, there are people who will want to say, why are you counting our children? Or why do you want to know our status during this campaign period? Are you going to? No. People are not going to politicize this, because where the campaigns are going on, education service should be going on, agricultural services should be going on. It must not be any issue of saying, why now? The question, why now shouldn't come. Once again, I want to thank you and assure you that the office of the RCC shall give you all the necessary support, and even brief our security team about this event, so that should anybody make an attempt to sabotage it, then we shall go and ensure that nobody interferes with the exercise, because it is a government program and UBOS is a government entity. I've said all this for God and my country. Thank you.